A dining room in rural France. 8 tables. A handwritten menu on a chalkboard that changes with the season and the market and whatever the kitchen decided this morning. The patron's grandmother opened it in 1923. The patron's daughter will inherit it. The wine comes from the producer 3 kilometers up the road. The bill arrives without being requested because the patron knows when you are finished. France's gastronomic reputation rests on the visible, the starred restaurants, the celebrated chefs, the dining rooms that appear in guides and generate waiting lists. But the foundation beneath that visibility is something older and quieter: the family table. The regional recipe unchanged for 3 generations. The cook, who has no interest in recognition, and every interest in the specific dish they have been perfecting since they were 12 years old. 15 places. Still open. Still cooking. Still unknown to everyone except the people who live nearby and the fortunate few who found them by accident. 1 Chez Paulette, Aubrac, Aveyron. A stone farmhouse on the Aubrac plateau that has been serving the same menu: alligat, sausage, and a dessert that varies by season since 1931. The alligat here is made from tome fresh, produced at the farm 3 fields away, stretched over the pot until it reaches the consistency that the plateau's cattle farmers have considered correct for a century. The dining room holds 30 people. The reservation list on the wall is handwritten. A Michelin inspector visited in 1987 and was politely told the establishment was not interested in stars. To Le Relais de la Diligence, Périgord Noir, Dordogne. An auberge on the old coach road between Sarlat and Cahors that has been feeding travelers since 1887. The current menu is the 4th generation's interpretation of the same Périgord repertoire: foie gras micu, confit de canard, walnut cake. The 4th generation patron describes the menu as finished not because nothing could be added, but because nothing needs to be. The dining room has 10 tables. Reservations are taken by telephone. The telephone is the same model it has been since 1974. 3 Auberge du Vieux, Pressoir, Normandy, Calvados. A cider press converted to a dining room in 1908 by a farmer who discovered he preferred cooking to farming. The press itself remains in the center of the room, too large and too old to remove, now functioning as a surface for the bread basket and the carafe. The menu changes with the Norman seasons: sole meunière in spring, canard à la Normande in autumn, tarte tatin year-round from the orchard behind the building. The cider served here is made from apples grown in that orchard. The recipe for the tart has not been written down. It exists in the hands of whoever is making it. 4 La Table des Marthes, Alsace, Basse-Rhin. A village restaurant of 6 tables that Marthe Kiefer opened in 1919 upon her husband's return from the war. He had survived. She had learned to cook. The current proprietor is Martha's great-granddaughter, who carries the same first name by family tradition. The menu is Alsatian without concession to outside influence: Beckoff on Mondays, choucroute on Thursdays, flammacouche on Friday evenings. The Riesling served here comes from the vineyard, visible through the dining room window. It has come from that vineyard since 1931. 5 Chez le Pêcheur, 7 Hérault. A table of 8 in a former fisherman's warehouse on the Étang de Tau, operating since 1902, with a menu that depends entirely on what the boats brought in that morning. No menu is printed. The patron describes the catch. You choose. The oysters come from the beds, visible through the window. The grilled fish comes from the Mediterranean. The tiel, the spiced octopus pie specific to Sète, is made from a recipe the founding family brought from their Neapolitan origins and has not shared since. The establishment has no sign. Regulars know the door. 6 Le Mazeau, Savoie, Haute-Savoie. A mountain refuge above Megève that began feeding shepherds and later skiers in 1911, operating from the same stone building, at the same altitude, with the same fundamental menu: fondue, raclette, tartiflette, and a mountain charcuterie board that changes with whatever the valley producers have cured that season. The fondue here uses 3 cheeses in proportions that the current owner's grandfather established, and the current owner has not adjusted. He has been asked to adjust them regularly for 50 years. He has declined consistently. 7. La Ferme de la Rivière, Périgord Blanc, Dordogne. A farmhouse dining room that the Lacombe family has operated since 1898, serving lunch only, Tuesday through Saturday, to a maximum of 24 people. The menu is set no choices, no substitutions, and consists of whatever the farm produced that week, combined with whatever the market in the nearest town offered on Wednesday morning. First-time visitors are sometimes startled by the absence of a menu card. Regular visitors describe the absence as the point. You eat what the farm has. The farm has always had enough. 8. Bistrot des Halles, Burgundy, Côte d'Or. A bistrot beside the covered market in a small Burgundian town that has been opening at 11:30 and closing at 2 since 1923. The menu changes daily based on the market stalls visible through the window. The wine list is exclusively Burgundian, exclusively from small producers, and exclusively chosen by the current patron's father, who retired in 2018, but continues to make the selections from his house 2 streets away. The jambon persillé here has been made from the same recipe since the bistrot opened. It has won no awards. It requires none. 9. L'Estanco, Pays Basque, Pyrénées Atlantiques. A Basque tavern in a village of 400 people that began as a general store and tobacco shop in 1897 and gradually became a restaurant as the cooking outgrew the retail. The T. Existora, a thin, spiced Basque sausage, is made in the kitchen from the same recipe the founding family brought from the Spanish Basque country across the mountains. The piperade is made when the peppers in the kitchen garden are ready and not before. The dining room holds 16 people. The patron speaks Basque to regulars and French to everyone else, which is how you discover which category you have reached. 10. La Mère Brazier's Table, Lyon, Rhône. Eugénie Brazier was the first woman to hold 3 Michelin stars in 1933 simultaneously at 2 restaurants. One of those original dining rooms still operates in Lyon's first arrondissement, maintained by successors who understand what the room represents. This is not a hidden restaurant in the sense of unknown. La Mère Brazier is documented, celebrated, and bookable. It is hidden in the sense that most visitors to Lyon walk past it without understanding that they are passing the room where French gastronomy made one of its most important decisions about itself. The poulard demi-doule chicken in half mourning, truffles slid beneath the skin, is still on the menu. 11. Auberge du Clocher, Aveyron, Millau. A dining room behind the church in a village of 600 that the Violade family has operated since 1904. The Roquefort here is sourced from a single affineur in the caves at Roquefort-sur-Soulzone, 8 kilometers away, with whom the family has had a direct arrangement since 1931. The arrangement predates the appellation system that now governs the cheese. The current owner describes the relationship as older than the paperwork and more reliable. The cheese board arrives last, after the main course, before the dessert, in the French sequence that the rest of the world has never quite adopted. 12. Le Cabanon, Camargue, Bouches du Rhône. A wooden structure on the edge of a Camargue étang that a guardian, a Camargue cowboy, built in 1913 as a place to eat after the cattle drive. His descendants converted it to a restaurant by degrees, adding tables as demand required, without ever adding pretension. The menu is camarguais, bull meat grilled over vine cuttings, Tellin's tiny clams from the delta with garlic and parsley, rice from the paddy fields visible from the terrace. The terrace faces west. The flamingos in the étang beyond are not an attraction. They are simply there, as they have always been. 13. Chez Fernand, Gascony, Gers. A restaurant in a Gascon Bastide town that Fernand Dupuy opened in 1921, and that has been called Chez Fernand ever since, through 3 generations of owners, none of whom were named Fernand. The current owner, asked about the name, explains that changing it would confuse the regulars, and the regulars are the point. The cassoulet here, made with Tarbes beans, Gascon duck confit, and Toulouse sausage, takes 2 days to prepare and is available on Wednesdays and Saturdays only. On other days, it does not exist. Regulars plan their week accordingly. 14. La Guinguette du Bord de Loire, Loire Valley, Mainit Loire. A guinguette, an open-air riverside eating and drinking establishment that has operated on the same bank of the Loire since 1889. The wooden structure has been rebuilt after floods 3 times. The menu has not been rebuilt. Friture de la Loire, freed river fish, rillons, rillettes, and Anjou wines served in the ceramic pitchers that the local pottery has been producing for the guinguette since 1923. Sunday lunch here in June, with the Loire running slow and silver below the terrace, is one of the experiences that France makes available and the rest of the world has not yet found a way to replicate. 15. L'Auberge des Causses, Lozère, Gorge du Tarn. A stone auberge in the Tarn Gorge that has fed pilgrims, shepherds, and travelers since 1896. The current menu reflects the same logic as the original. Whatever the plateau produces, prepared simply, served generously. Soupes au fromage, leg of Lozère lamb slow roasted with thyme from the garage above the gorge. Blueberry tart from the berries gathered on the plateau in August. The dining room has no mobile signal. The owner considers this an amenity. The conversation at the table, uninterrupted by screens, proceeds at the pace that meals in this room have always proceeded slowly, without agenda, with a second carafe arriving before anyone has asked for it. Final. 15 dining rooms. A combined operating history measured in centuries. Recipes that exist in hands rather than books. Wine from the producer visible through the window. A bill that arrives when the patron decides you are ready. France's hidden gastronomic tradition is not hiding from shame. It is simply indifferent to visibility. These places do not need to be discovered by a guide or celebrated by a critic to continue doing what they have always done. The regulars know where they are. The produce comes from the same farms it has always come from. The recipe has not been written down because the person who makes it already knows it. The only question is whether you find them before they decide they have enough customers already. Some of them already have.